Welcome back to the Conway Regional Health System pregame show. The Wampus Cats in the quarterfinals tonight against Bentonville West. Wolverines are a familiar opponent when it comes to the playoffs. This will be the fifth time that we've played them. But guys, before we get into the playoffs, let's take a look back. The last time that we were together was prior to the Conway Bryant game. It's a game that didn't go our way, but I was impressed, and I think most people were, with the way that the team performed that night.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've left a Week 10 Bryant game and felt good, or, had some semblance of feeling good.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened in a really long time. Really, 2021, we had a lead on them late and we let it slip away. But other than that, in the last, where are we at now? Last 11 years, we've really not had a close game with them in a meaningful way in a long time. So this was, it was a fun atmosphere. It was the heavyweights of the 7A Central, 1 and 2 on the line, playing for it. It was everything you would want in a high school football game, and the crowd was in it on both sides. It was just great. Yeah. It was just a great game to be a part of. Like you said, we didn't get the outcome we wanted, and we could have had it. That's what's great about all of this is we not only did we stand up to them and not let them bully us around, we were there. We were right there. And to think about where we were back in week 0 and week 1 up at Bentonville, and to see where they are now coming out of week 10, it's been a complete transformation. And I'm as excited going into the playoffs as maybe I've ever been.
Yeah, the team that I saw against Bentonville 2 games in was not this team that we saw against Bryant. It was a complete change. And that, listen, you're talking about a sophomore quarterback going up against some of the best defensive players in this region. Forget the state, the region. And we went toe to toe, and I hate moral victories. I talked about it again, I think, on Friday night. But the thing about it is if you don't think that, I don't think we got a couple of calls that didn't go our way that could have changed the outcome. And I could, if you want to do that, we could do that at a later date. But also just a couple of plays as well. We were just a couple of plays here and there that we did not make, that was on us. That's the difference in this ball game. And I think anybody that saw it would tell you that. It was just a couple of plays here and there. It's never been that way really against Bryant. And so I'm very pleased at the growth between Bentonville and today. And if we play better, if we take a step forward from the way we played against Bryant, I think we're going to be good going through the playoffs.
My takeaway from it was that in the past, that week 10 game, it just didn't go our way. We really kind of got pushed around. We got beat up. And then, nobody's saying this publicly, but I'll say it the way I felt was, and if we can just get to the state championship game, that's going to be a victory. If we have to end up facing them again, then I don't know if we match up with them. I do not feel that way in 2025. I feel like if we get a win tonight, get a win on Black Friday, and if we are matched up with them again, and they've got a tough road on their side too, we can match up with them. And I honestly believe we can beat them given a second opportunity. So I don't know that I've felt that way every year before, and I certainly do this year. Tell us what you know about the team over the past couple of weeks. Anybody getting healthy? Who's looking good? What are we, as you guys have been around the program, where are we at going into Bentonville West tonight?
Well, we haven't had a change on the starting lineup in like 6 or 7 weeks now at this point, which I call it out every week because it's an anomaly. It's just something that you rarely see happen week to week in high school football. There's just, people get injured. It's part of the game, but really no changes going into this game. The starting lineups are going to look the same. I think there's a chance that we see a little bit more of Wesley Tapp and maybe a little bit sooner. It sounds like, he's been available. That's been the line for the last, 4 or 5 weeks. He's available. I think now we're to a point where he's not only available, he's as close to 100% as he's been since week 0. So that could be a big impact, because imagine if you're Bentonville West, you're coming in, you're preparing for Ryder Cook, and then all of a sudden Wesley Tapp is in there and he's throwing it over the top of your defense. That's hard. You just don't know what to expect. I'm sure they're trying to prepare for both, but if you're watching the last few games, you haven't seen much of Wesley Tapp. I think we're probably going to see more of him.
I do too, and I think that it's almost like two completely different offenses. If when Wesley's in there, you're going to be able to do things you just can't do with Ryder, and vice versa. If Ryder's in there, they're going to do things that you can't do with Tapp. So you have to prepare for both, and it spreads them out a little bit. Defensively, I would tell you that I think that we while we haven't seen some changes in who's starting and who really is contributing, I do think we see some different packages this week. And then you're probably going to ask about Bentonville West here in a second, but they do some things that are going to challenge us. And so I think we see some different people that maybe we haven't seen as much of heretofore, except in some different roles. So same lineups, but maybe using them differently.
Yeah, I did want to lead into Bentonville West. Looking at the 4 times that we've played them, and again, the times we've played them have only been in the playoffs. Lots of points scored in each game. The last time we played was a couple of years ago. We won 63-46. They beat us in back-to-back years, 31-21, 31-17. We won the previous year. It was a Thursday night game. They didn't have their stadium yet. We played at Bentonville High School. We won that game 48-40. So a lot of points in the past have been scored. What are we looking at from them this year?
Well, I think that's the kind of game they want to try and get into, is they want to be putting up a lot of points. I mean, they're a pass-heavy offense. They just don't have the capability to run the ball a lot. I mean, they can run it effectively at times. They lost their starting running back pretty early in the season, and their backup, he's done a great job, but it's just, it's almost a complete flip of what you see with Conway, where Conway's like, we're run first, we're run heavy. That's what we want to do. That may be all we do some games. We're just going to run the ball if you can't stop it. That's not what Bentonville West does. They run a lot of screens. They have a very mobile quarterback who can create most of what their running game is a lot of times it's coming out of him. But they want to throw over the top as well, which it's funny. We were talking about matchups earlier. We were still talking about the Bryant game. I mean, when you talk to the coaches, you kind of get the vibe that, Bryant actually is probably a better matchup for what we want to do than maybe necessarily this team is. So, and if you look at the last 3 quarterfinals games that we've been in, even going back to Fimples last year, we've not played well in the quarterfinals round. And I think some of that, though, is that we're still a little hungover and defeated from the Bryant game. Yep. I'm very hopeful that that's not going to be the case this year. I really want to see this play more out like the Christian game did or the North Little Rock game did. Could it turn into a shooting match? Yeah, man, I'm really hopeful that we're going to come out much more energized, much more confident than we've come out in the quarterfinals the last 3 years. So I'm hopeful that something like that's not going to happen.
They might be considered a more hungry team than Conway, just because they've not made it past this point in the playoffs and forever, if ever. And so they're the team that's fighting to get the ability to get to the next round, maybe more so than Conway, because we've been there and done that. But I don't think so. To Levi's point that he just made, this team seems to have a different resiliency. They have a different swagger about them, if you will. And I don't know if it's just the chemistry with the team, but they seem to play well together. And not like the teams in the past haven't, but this one just feels a little bit differently. I will say this about Bentonville West. They struggled with North Little Rock last week. They beat them by 1, and that was a little bit of a surprise, but it was really kind of an athletic team versus a very fast team, North Little Rock being the athletic team. And they handled their swing game, their screen game, their tunnels very well. And they controlled the quarterback for Bentonville West. He is a danger. He's the guy. If you had to say, well, what are you worried about? I'm worried about the quarterback. He's a running quarterback as well. He throws the ball very well, but he's a mobile quarterback. And we have at times struggled with that kind of quarterback. We'll have to see how we do against him. He's a good quarterback.